So yesterday, the Broncos lost to the Steelers. The final score was 27-19, and the fact that they even got close to winning is pretty remarkable considering, this was just all around a terrible coaching performance from offense to defense. Special teams wasn't that bad compared to what we're used to, but yeah, what we need to talk about first is that the defense, which is the strength of this team, has not played well the past 2 weeks. They let Najee go for a buck 20 and a tug on the ground when his best high on the year was like 60 something rushing yards. And the Steelers had a lot of turnover at the offensive line position. And one of the big questions going into this game was, oh, how badly are the Broncos going to beat up on Najee? How badly are they going to sack Big Ben? Because, everyone thought Big Ben was washed before today's contest, but it turns out he could still sling the rock against our defense. And the Steelers were averaging, I believe, 12 or 13 points a game on the season. And, after the first half alone, they had 17, which is a huge red flag when you look at your defensive ability and how your defense is playing. And coming into the game, Roethlisberger was 20% and throws 20 plus yards down the field. But during this game, he was 80%. And Kyle Fuller, which was considered our big pickup in the offseason after Ronald Darby, just did not play well at all. He got smoked on that Deontay touchdown. He also had a really, really bad penalty that, I don't know, probably wasn't a penalty. But yeah, all game long, he just was not showing the highest level of effort he could have. And, on that play where Claypool beat Vaughn, which, believe me, we're going to talk about that later, he kind of gave up. He kind of gave up on the end where I saw Surtain running stride for stride with him. And I saw Jackson and Simmons hustling back, and I didn't see Fuller show a lot of fight or a lot of hunger on that play either. Ronald Darby just needs to get as healthy as he can, and he needs to get healthy quick because he missed OTAs, He missed OTAs along with Melvin Gordon, and this is a new team. So what in the world were you possibly doing in May that was more important than being with your new team? This isn't Chicago. Believe me, just because Vic Fangio is your coach and the fact that you're putting on the same colors, it doesn't mean you can miss OTAs. So now the conversation is going to become, well, what was he doing? And the narrative is going to be in the locker room, well, he missed OTAs, so all this is happening. And yeah, he's probably cost himself a buck or two free agency because he was on a 1-year deal. Like I said, Ronald Darby needs to get healthy and quick. The first game he played was pretty good. He did end up getting beat by Kenny Galladay a few times, but he couldn't gain any separation against him. Galladay just happens to have the catch radius of the whole stadium. But I believe Ronald Darby is going to be active this week. In Vic Fangio's press conference, he said that they were probably going to activate him, which is good. Obviously, don't want to rush it because hamstrings take a while to heal. And with the injury like the Broncos have had the past 2 years, the last thing you want to do is rush a guy back from injury. You want to give him that time to be fully healthy. I hope they take the same approach with Jerry Jeudy as well. And when I talk about missing OTAs with Kyle Fuller, you got always Von Miller is always at OTAs, Kareem Jackson is always at OTAs. So the aging veterans, even though they are veterans, they know their place in the league. They understand that it's a team effort, it's a team mentality, and I'm glad that they give it their all for their team. And even Roethlisberger, who was on the other side of the field today, or yesterday, even Roethlisberger, despite the amount of problems the Steelers had with drama in the locker room, since the mid-2010s, he is always there. He always shows up, and he always says the right things during press conferences, even though, you can get into whatever you want to say about the guy personally, but he's always there. And I guess if there is one good thing to take away from this game, Surtain looked fantastic. There were 2 instances I could see where he was tested. He was tested on Claypool in the second quarter on the left sideline. And, I thought it was amazing that Ben Roethlisberger did not really, really go after him for the rest of the game. Despite all these problems with the Broncos, despite the fact that the defense didn't play well, they gave you a chance to win. And we have not even talked about the offensive side of the ball yet. This reminded me, it was a carbon copy of the Steelers game last year. Early in the season, you get dominated for the first 3 quarters, and you have a few scoring drives here and there, and then you're like, oh, it's interesting. And then you get into the red zone, and you fail to convert. And with that Malik Reed strip sack, the Broncos taking some hard stands towards the end of the game, They absolutely could have won this contest if the offense was up for the contest, which they weren't. I am not happy at all with how the defense played. I think it is acknowledged that it's the strength of our team and needs to get a lot better going forward if we're going to have a shot at winning more ball games, especially with the Raiders coming to town, who looked terrible yesterday. So you got to hope that the Broncos can get better and take advantage. And it just didn't make sense to me how we were going about some things, even though the defense did give us a chance to win. Von Miller on Chase Claypool. Why? Like, I just don't get it. Like, Von Miller is a Hall of Fame pass rusher. Pass rusher. He is not a coverage linebacker. In the press conference Fangio had this morning, he said that they were in zone and that they didn't play that very well. So you know what you do? You throw that coverage out of the playbook and don't even look back. There were two good safeties on the field at the time who could have helped Von Miller out while he was on Chase Claypool. Could have at least helped shadow him. And everybody in the stadium, everybody in the world knew that ball was going to Chase Claypool, and they didn't do anything to stop it. You also just got to think about the missed opportunities on the defensive side of the ball. If Alexander Johnson spent an hour with the jugs machine, we're probably talking about a completely different game by now. He probably could have housed the first one, to be honest, and I'm not mad that he dropped those two, because, Roethlisberger, despite all the jokes about him being washed, all the jokes about him being a jag now, he still throws the ball pretty hard. And, think about guys like Deontay who are elite separators. They expect the ball like a split second after they release off the line. And, they had drop issues last year, but how much of those do you pin on the receiver? And guys historically who have thrown the ball really, really hard, like Kaepernick and Roethlisberger, their receivers always have really, really high drop rates. So, yeah, you can talk about Johnson not picking those balls off, but I don't know. I'm not really mad. He's not paid to catch picks. He's not paid to be some stout coverage linebacker, so I'm whatever. But man, Javonte spiking the ball after he didn't score, delay of game, like how often do you see that called? And I know it probably wasn't on the high list of priorities for the Broncos. I didn't know this until yesterday. You are allowed to spike the ball after you score. You can't do it if you don't score. And if you spike the ball in the end zone while you don't score, it's a delay of game penalty, which I didn't know that was a rule. I assumed Javonte Williams did not know that was a rule, but what if he never spiked that ball? It cost them 5 yards, and considering the state of our offense, 5 yards is pretty big in the red zone. Yesterday, when we got into the red zone, particularly in the first half and at the end of the game, we couldn't score on an escort. Draymond Jones had that penalty where he jumped over the line and used the guys as leverage, so it just doesn't make any sense. It's not like it's something new that hasn't been addressed to the players before. And now we are getting into the offensive side of things, which is where things are going to get very, very, very interesting. What the Broncos showed on offense yesterday is basically what we've seen for the past 5 or 6 years. You could have put Trevor Siemian out there instead of Teddy Bridgewater, and minus the slight difference in skin tone, I probably wouldn't have been able to tell you that there was a difference in who the quarterback was or how the offense operated. In a division that is absolutely loaded with tight end talent, the AFC West has Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, even Parham has emerged for the Chargers. In my opinion, Noah Fant is a top 6 tight end in the league. And before the season began, I thought he was the Broncos' best offensive weapon. And what were you doing having him block TJ Watt? In the first quarter, he stopped Javonte for a 4-yard loss, And Noah Fant, you drafted him in 2019 to be a vertical threat. Guys like Kittle and guys like Hawkinson are such a luxury in the league. They're so rare that it's almost like having an extra O-lineman on the field, and you didn't draft Noah Fant to become a blocking tight end. You draft those guys in like the 4th, 5th, 6th, even 7th round. And has he developed as he should in the blocking game? No. But like I said, that's not why you drafted him. That's not why you decided to develop him. That's not why you spent a 1st-round pick on him in 2019. And the fact that he barely got any targets until the 4th quarter, it's just like, what are we doing? What were we doing all week where we were just like, okay, we're going to have Noah Fant line up on the line of scrimmage, and we are going to try to pound the ball down their throats. If you could even pound the ball down their throats. I know that Gordon, you're paying him $8 million a year, but at a certain point, you have to ride the hot hand, because if you think about the Broncos' best 2 offensive plays the past 2 games, other than that touchdown to Sutton, it has probably been the Javonte Williams run against the Ravens in the 1st quarter, and it was probably the Javonte Williams run against the Steelers yesterday in the 2nd quarter. And don't get me wrong, I still think Melvin Gordon is a good football player. He's not what he once was in San Diego, but he's also not a 2-down grinder like we all thought his final year with the Chargers. That being said, if he is clearly being outperformed by Javonte Williams, who you traded up to get in the second round, you traded up to get your guy. It's been pretty much expected that Javonte Williams was going to take over this backfield. We didn't know how long. Our best player on the offensive side of the ball right now, outside of Sutton and Bowles, is Javonte Williams. And Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton both balled out, and Patrick needs to get paid. He's just too reliable not to. And Sutton had an awesome game in the stadium where he tore his ACL a year ago. Now, we've had Pat Shurmur for over a year now, and I think I've seen enough. He has done a good job building this offense around Teddy, but this is an offense that is built to play with the lead. This is an offense that was built to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. This was an offense built to sustain drives, be able to run the ball pretty well. But some of the decisions that have been made during game day just confused the hell out of me. Last week, when Teddy got knocked out of the game against the Ravens, you had Drew Lock out there. And what did you decide to do? You decided to call 4 or 5 run plays as opposed to 25 passing plays. Like, even if you're down, you just cannot abandon the run game. Gordon and Javonte are just too good of a duo to do that. If there's one thing the Broncos have actually been pretty decent at post-Payton on offense, it is running the football. We had C.J. Anderson, we had the emergence of Philip Lindsay, now we have Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams. So why not just pound the rock? You got to pound the rock, but you also got to use your best player in the process. Gordon, like I said, is still good, but he just has not been what Javonte Williams has been the past 2 weeks. So upcoming, we are going to be playing against the Las Vegas Raiders, and we got to come ready to play. This is a team that your franchise historically hates the most out of any other team. So how they play next week, how the coaches rebound from this, how the players rebound from this, even Justin Simmons, who last year with Von Miller out was our best player. Not sure if you can see this, but he autographed my phone case at training camp in 2019. He's been beat twice now, deep. And in the press conference this morning, Fangio also said, yeah, we just didn't play that well enough as a team. Well, he's not going to throw Simmons under the bus, so I kind of like that. But I think everyone in the building knows that players need to be held more accountable. I think they can figure it out. I'm not sure they have the coaches to do it. I trust Vic Fangio, kind of. I do not trust Pat Shurmur. I do not trust Tom McMahon. But this is your chance to come out next week and punch your division rival in the mouth. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're not already. Follow me on Twitter, links in the description down below. Anyways guys, have a good day and peace out.